Hey, Professor Homa back with part 2 of our WDO6 calendar exercise. And we did basically set up the calendar. We're just going to add some color right here. And I could do this by clicking on this row. And I could also hold my control key and get kind of the alternating rows and do it all at one shot. I don't have to do it one at a time. So if I highlight these 3 rows by holding control, I could go back to Table Tools Design. And if you're not sure which one, go to Layout. If you don't see the paint bucket, go to Design. And I'm going to use that light green that I was using, which I think was the third one down. And there's my light green. So that gives me my kind of color, breaking it up a little bit. And that was, that's all part of number 13 was finishing up that. Number 14 is actually kind of, there's a couple more steps to this, so that's why I did this on part 2, but we're going to be putting a thicker border on here. And what I'm going to remind you to do here, whenever you need to do anything to a whole table, even if you need to copy or paste a table or anything like that, to select the entire table, there's a little, see that little like 4 arrow icon there. Whenever you see that, just click on it. That selects the entire table. And what I'm going to do by selecting that entire table, okay, and with everything selected, I'm going to go up to Table Tools, and I'm going to go to Layout, and you'll just look for Properties. And here's Properties over here. And I'm going to open up Table Properties. And what I'm going to do from Table Properties is look for Borders and Shading. Okay, and that's actually down here. Ignore this stuff here. There's Borders and Shading down here. And I'm going to do this to my entire table. So make sure it says Apply to Table here. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that I have it a little bit thicker. We're going to use like a 1.5 thickness for a border, which is here 1.5 is 1.5. So I'm going to use that. Also for color, this is automatic. That just means black, but we're going to choose a dark green. We'll use a dark green color here. And I'm going to hit OK and make sure they all show up when we do this. Okay, because sometimes you could click on and off if it doesn't take, but we'll make sure it takes. We'll hit OK and see that all the borders should be kind of a dark green and they should be thicker. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit OK again. And when I click off of this, now you can see we have a thicker green border going all around. And again, just to review, I went to my properties by clicking on this thing and going up to properties and going down to borders and shading is where I actually did that. And just be aware that in table properties you could change things like your row settings and column settings and cell settings. There's lots of different things you could do in here. Again, we're just kind of introducing ourselves to a table here. We're not doing a whole lot. But there's a lot of things you could do with tables. Okay, so that's our border on there, and that's number 14. So that wasn't too bad. And that just leaves us the very last thing. 15 is inserting a shamrock. So I'm going to go to the Insert menu, and I could go here to Clip Art, and I'll click on Clip Art, and it'll open up this little clip art thing over here. And I'm just going to type in shamrock just to search for it, and there should be a shamrock, and I'll hit the Go button. And if you don't find a shamrock just like the one there, you could use something else. We're just going to throw something in for St. Patrick's Day, and here's a shamrock here. I think this is the one I used. And I could take this, I could even drag it right over here. Now, you can see what happened when I drug it over. It's large, and it made that cell real big. So I'm going to scale this down. And you can see what it's also doing, even though it's scaled down now, it's kind of moving around the 17. What I'm going to do to avoid that, I'm going to double click on this picture, and it's going to bring up our picture tools. By double clicking on the picture, here's picture tools up here, and I'm going to go over to text wrap, and I'm just going to choose in front of text because I don't want it to wrap around. I just want it to just sit there, and we'll just move it manually. So I'll choose in front of text. That way you could nudge it with your keyboard, or you could grab it and move it around, and I'll just put it in place there, and that's just signifying St. Patrick's Day on the 17th. Which is a Sunday. So I think, and you could close this thing up. Once this clip art thing and you're done with it, you can close that up. And I think that's pretty much it. That was number 15. The last thing you're going to do is just save this as WDO6 calendar with your last name. So I'll make sure I go and do this. I'll just do a save as, and I'll call it WDO6 _ calendar. And I'll put my last name on here, and you don't have to put the .doc. Now, Word document means it'll save it as the docx. If you needed to save it down further, you could use the 97 through 2003. But that should be it. We should be done with this. Didn't take that long. You just had to set up a table, just had to merge some things, and apply some color. So that shouldn't take you that long. It only took me about maybe 15 minutes to do it for the demo, so hopefully it won't take you much longer to do it for your assignment. And this will probably be one of the last ones for Word before we move into Excel.